What it is, though? It's your boy Crook LDB Team 100. We in here, sure. It's March. March Mania is in full effect, man. March Mania is when you guys are going to get daily vids for the whole month of March to show that we on this grind. You feel me? Also, March Mania means that every single day you guys are going to be getting Twitch streams. Link will be in the description. Show your boy some love. We at 280 subscribers. Help your boy get to 300 by the end of this month. I'm at, 376 on Twitch. Help me get to 400 by the end of this month. And we going to keep grinding, and it's not going to stop. I greatly appreciate all you guys that's been tuning in, showing up for my streams, leaving comments. I greatly appreciate you guys. All right, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. But today we got another video from Jimmy High Roller. NBA players are scoring more points than ever, and the reason why is right in front of our eyes, man. So this is going to be a pretty informative video. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, man. And let's get straight into the video, man.
Last NBA season, there were 775 30-plus point performances by individual players. In the 2003-2004 NBA season, through the same amount of games, there were only 368 of these same performances.
Right.
NBA players are getting more buckets than ever before. In fact, in a 5-year span from 2011 to 2016, there were only 23 players who averaged 25 points per game or more. In the last 5 seasons, the number of players who averaged 25 points per game or more has exploded to 58. Steve Nash, an offensive juggernaut with an absurd near
one of the goated point guards of all time, man.
Never averaged even 19 points per game in a season. Not even once in 18 years. And yet, all of these players are currently
Steve Nash is the
20 plus points per game in a season.
My bad. Steve Nash is the only player that I know that will be single digits in points but double digit assists. It was one game, I cannot remember what game it was. This man had like 5 points and I want to say like 21 assists. That will never ever be done, man. That will never. When was the last time you ever seen a player get 20 assists in a game? That has not been done since Russell Westbrook did the 20-20-20. That won't happen again.
Season. In fact, here's some great players from previous eras in the NBA that have never, ever averaged 20 plus points per game for a season in their entire career. Manu Ginobili, Lamar Odom, Rasheed Wallace, John Stockton, Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, Bill Russell, and Robert Parrish. Now sure, some of these players weren't considered scorers, but that's kind of the point. Put these players in today's offensive-heavy, fast-paced league, and most of them become all-time bucket getters. Over the last few seasons, the NBA has seen an explosion in scoring. From all-time greats sleepwalking their way to 30 points, to average players putting up career numbers on a nightly basis. 15 years ago, if a player averaged 20 points per game, he was virtually a lock as an all-star, and one of the league's most elite scorers. Now, 20 points a night has basically become the expectation for any solid player. Why is this? Of course, there's some obvious variables that stand out immediately. Lack of defensive effort, faster pace, more threes, but something else is going on here, and no one is really talking about it. In 2011, Kevin Durant led the entire NBA in scoring with 27.7 points per game. That season, Durant piled up 29 games with 30-plus points, the most of any player that year. When adjusted to a full season, last year the number of players who had at least 29 30-plus point games was 7. 7 players had more 30-point games last season than a
especially hard.
had in
especially hard, bro.
It's only been a decade since then, and yet players have gotten better, more skilled, more versatile on offense, and getting a bucket has never been so easy. But how and why? Well, last week on the Ringers NBA Show podcast, former NBA player Raja.
I ain't gonna lie. It's just the defense, bro. Like, you can't play defense anymore, bro. There's no hand checking. You can't get physical with them. The game is catered towards offensive players right now, bro. Like, this game don't care about defense. Like, defense does not matter in some of these games, bro. You feel me? Like, it don't. Like, if you tap somebody, it's a foul. Like,
Bell gave great insight as to why we're seeing this offensive outbreak and how exactly this is all happening.
Do you think that NBA defenses have caught up with the tactical revolution of their offenses? Or are we kind of like in a college football spread offense and like there's only so much a defense can do to stop what's happening here?
Yeah, that's exactly where we are. Offense is way ahead of defense. It's just way ahead of it. Like, there's nothing. You asked me a question. That's why I'm on today. Like, what are you going to do with Brooklyn? There's no answer for that. Like, when guys are that gifted with the ball and they're not going to put you in predictable actions that you can game plan for, and you're just saying, hey, man, you got to be good enough to guard that guy. Well, the rules are what they are, where you're not going to be able to really get up and touch a guy. And, you know, we used to be able to, I don't mean to sound like an old curmudgeon, I'm not complaining about it, but it gave you an opportunity to kind of be physical with the guy at times.
Yeah.
That's stripped away too. So
That's the only way you're going to stop somebody if you get physical with
it's
them.
impossible to guard if it's just the best players on the ball in space.
As much as we want to blame defensive efforts or the NBA becoming soft or players chucking up threes, Raja is right. Yes, generally speaking, defense has gotten worse over the last decade.
Yeah.
A much more drastic change revolves around the skill set of NBA players, what is valued on the court, and the worst nightmare for some NBA fans, analytics. The average NBA player is far more offensively skilled now than they were 20 or even 10 years ago. 15 years ago, there were only a handful of big men in the NBA who could shoot the ball well enough to not look like they were throwing a brick through a window. But now most big guys can shoot the ball well enough to be a threat from outside 15 feet.
It's a must. If not, you're not getting on the NBA team if you can't shoot. Guaranteed.
Big guy. Stop the cap. 15 years ago, a player who was able to go ISO and create his own shot was worth building a team around. Now, if you can't take your man ISO and give him a hezzy pull-up, you're getting sent to the G League. Defense isn't necessarily terrible.
No.
Offense has just become
Look at the Nets.
good.
Look at the net. They got no defense.
It's an endlessly expanding set of skills that are constantly being invented, improved, and explored. Defense, on the other hand, no matter how good it gets, will always be a reactionary task. It is inherently bound to physical and strategical limitations.
Sheesh.
You can try to stay Kyrie all you want, but eventually you're gonna bite. And when you do, he's gonna make you pay. You can get physical with KD and put a hand up when he shoots. That man's still shooting over you every single time. As the saying goes, great offense beats great defense. And these days, even marginally good offensive NBA players can break down great defenders. The days of non-bucket getting stars are in the past, and a new league that is strictly focused on putting the ball in the hoop with every other aspect of the game being an afterthought is now upon us. And this progression follows the normal path of any sport. With every new era, players
give me them ankles.
They take what works and throw out what doesn't. And slowly but surely, things just improve. But a universal jump in offensive production like this is completely uncertain. There's been plenty of innovation.
That was DJ
over the
Augustine?
years. So why are we seeing this huge change in the game now?
Wow.
Not too long ago, this system we call the NBA came across an anomaly. A Neo in the NBA Matrix. A seemingly average man who would accelerate the inevitable evolution of hoops and usher in a new era of basketball. And that man is Joe Ingles. No. That anomaly is Steph Curry. Now, I know this sounds absurd, but it's the cold hard truth we all must come to accept. Before the chef began his conquest of NBA dominance, the league was a game of chess, with each piece having a very particular set of strengths and weaknesses. Basketball was tactical. That's my spot. I know that's my spot. Now how can I get to it? That's my defensive assignment. I can't stop him by myself, so how can we orchestrate the best and most efficient defense to stop him? But after seeing a 6'2" laser-accurate sniper running around screens like a madman and breaking players down off the dribble just to hoist up 30-foot bombs while winning titles in the process, things changed very, very quickly. Seemingly overnight, the strategy around the league went from specific tasks all different and unique to specific players to how do I get better at threes and why didn't I think of this sooner? Just 10 years ago, solid offensive players were sentenced to creating shot opportunities in a set offense, painstakingly working the defense until they found their gaps, moving off the ball until an opportunity presented
ball
itself.
movement.
Put some of these players in today's league and give them the fantastic news that they have the green light to pull up wherever and whenever, and you'd quickly see good players turn into stars. And this revolution in offensive play style inadvertently sparked the boom in positionless basketball. Because why limit your big man to going toward down low just to get a contested layup when you can just spend a couple summers teaching him how to shoot the outside shot and become a threat from deep as well as down low? Why limit your point guard to just distributing the ball when he's by far the best shooter on your team? The idea of positionless basketball has a lot more to do with this influx of scoring than we realize. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, most players filled a specific role. Defensive stopper, spot-up shooter, pick-and-roll big, rim protector, playmaking wing, pass-first point guard. Most players in the NBA fit within some sort of mold and played within that mold for the majority of their career. It was what they were good at, and it's where they had the most value. But ever since this concept of positionless basketball has taken over in the NBA right around 2015, or when the Golden State Warriors proved this concept to be a winning form of basketball, most good players have taken leaps and bounds outside of their mold. A lot of players in today's NBA who could give you 20 and 7 using a variety of moves would have never given you the same stat line or productivity in previous eras because they would have been placed within their ideal mold. And the opposite could be said about good players in previous eras. For example, take players like Tony Parker, Steve Nash, Baron Davis, Ray Allen, Marcus Camby, Jermaine O'Neal. The list goes on and on. Great players that played very specific roles in the 2000s but would have been game-changing stat stuffers in today's league. For instance,
A Steve Nash in today's league is putting up 28 and 15, bro. Dead ass. 28 and 15, bro. At least. What? Put Steve Nash on a team full of shooters. What? Stop playing.
Parker.
Stop
During his
playing,
prime,
bro.
Averaged 18, 6, and 3 on 51% shooting from the field on 14.5 shots and 31% from 3 on 0.9 threes per game. These are good numbers. Not great, but definitely above average. But what if we put a prime Tony Parker in today's NBA? Well, for starters, Parker is shooting way more than 0.9 threes per game. This man peaked just a decade ago, and look at how much the game has changed in that amount of time. Ain't no way he's shooting less than a single 3 a game on average today. In fact, Parker had 6 seasons where he shot over 35% from 3 and 2 seasons where he shot over 40%. Well, in the middle of his prime, Parker was 152nd league-wide on three-pointers attempted per game. So if we transplant him into 2021, 152nd in three-point attempts is 3.5 threes per game. Throughout Parker's prime, he was a top 5 scoring point guard in the league for 7 out of 8 seasons. When I think of Tony Parker, I think great player, not necessarily great scorer.
Right,
But remember,
exactly.
the league was much different.
He got the
10 years
job
ago.
done.
So what does the top 5...
Like, you put him in the same echelon as a Mike Conley. You feel what I'm saying? They're not really known for scorers, but you know that they can get a bucket if they need to, and they're going to get that rock up. They're going to get their assists. You feel what I'm saying? Like Tony Park will be like in a second echelon.
5 scoring point guard look like in today's NBA? Well, Trae Young is averaging 26.6 points per game this season as the league's 4th highest scoring point guard. Last season, Russell Westbrook was the league's 4th highest scoring point guard with 27.2 points per game. And the year before that, it was Kemba Walker with 25.6 points per game. Out of these 4 guards, take a wild guess at who shoots the ball the best. Old boy Tony Parker. But remember, the pace in today's league is much faster than it was in Tony's prime. So if you take prime Tony Parker and put him in the modern NBA, the offense probably revolves around him as the primary ball handler. He's shooting far more threes, he's one of the most efficient scorers running the point, and instead of averaging 18, 6, and 3, he's averaging something like 25, 7, and 4 on 51, 31, 77 shooting splits. And instead of putting up slightly above average numbers for fans to retroactively judge his value off of, he's now putting up Kyrie Irving type numbers. Same player, different era. Simply put, great players are
That's
taking
not too
more
far
shots, they have the ball in their hands more often, and they get to make far more executive decisions on the court than ever before. Tune into any NBA game and you can see this happen right in front of your eyes. Instead of having a designated point guard bring the ball up, teams are just giving the ball to the best player, regardless of their skill set, and allowing them to dictate the flow of the game. Why on earth is Giannis Antetokounmpo bringing the ball up the court? Why are point guards now shooting the ball more than shooting guards are? Why is Miles Turner, Serge Ibaka, and DeAndre Jordan all averaging less rebounds than guards like James Harden, DeJounte Murray, and
Yeah, that's
Josh
crazy.
Hart? Because no longer do players just play within their mold. If your best player is a 7-footer with no outside shooting, oh well, let him bring the ball up and go to work. Best player on the court is a 7-foot sluggish bruiser, oh well. The man can pass the ball like a point guard, so feed him the
Facts.
ball, drop the offensive sets, and let the man work. Best player is a 6-foot, 170-pound point guard. Forget the mid-range, forget the off-ball stuff. He's excellent at running the pick and roll and letting it fly from 30 feet out. So
Oh,
run the pick and
snap.
roll and let that thing fly. Now, it sounds naive to assume that good players from the past would adjust their game to the modern NBA, or that they would even want to. But this is a well-documented sentiment among former NBA players. A lot of them wishing they played in an era where their usage would have been through the roof and they would have had the ultimate green light. Here's a clip of Steve Nash explaining to Bill Simmons just how much his game would have changed if he had the opportunity to play within the new confines of the game.
We played a style that was thought to be revolutionary at the time, but really we should have doubled down. And Mike said this before. We should have played faster. We should have played smaller. We should have shot way more threes. We were just playing a style that suited our roster, suited our personnel. It was foreshadowing for the future. You know, the way I would have played today would be so different from the way I played. I grew up playing the game where people told you, as a point guard, go 5 for 7, 7 for 10,
Right.
and get all your teammates involved, loving the game, feeling empowered. That's the way I approached the game. So
Right.
I got more aggressive in the fourth quarter because I'm trying to win the game, but I didn't come out like guns blazing, try to, get 20 in the first half, because I didn't think that would do my team any favors. Now we know numerically it just makes way too much sense. And I think there's a balance to be set, but I think I was too conservative shooting the ball. Like, I should have walked into way more threes. I should have looked for more threes.
Nash is just one of many players from the past that is confident that he would thrive in today's NBA. Shooters gonna shoot. And in today's
Facts.
league, even non-shooters gonna shoot. Because getting a bucket now reigns supreme over any other skill set in the game. Of course, this has always been the name of the game, but recently the gap between scoring the ball and, let's say, playmaking, defense, IQ, spacing,
Why his face went like
size,
that?
and rebounding has only grown larger and larger. Check this out. Can you name the top 10 scorers in the NBA right now? I'm sure most of you can name at least 7 or 8, if not all 10. Now, can you name the top 10 rebounders in the league this season? Well, unless you are consistently checking in on this leaderboard,
Nah, you can't.
probably not. Because generally speaking, scoring the ball and having a deep bag of moves to get a bucket now get you far more recognition than anything else. Scoring gets you all-star votes, it gets you attention, appreciation. It's a lot more fun to give your opponent a few fancy moves and put up a 3 than work the ball around and get a cohesive offensive system going, and arguably more impactful than anything else, getting a bucket gets you paid. This season, the top 15 three-point shooters across the league make on average $24 million, equivalent to the 48th highest paid player in the NBA, which at the moment is Jaylen Brown. In other words, on average, the top 15 best three-point shooters in the NBA are paid the same as a potential all-NBA talent, which is pretty crazy. For comparison, in the 2011-2012 season, just a decade ago, on average, the top 15 best three-point shooters in the NBA made
That's
$7
crazy.
million, equivalent to just the 92nd highest paid player in the NBA that season, which
Yo,
at the time,
look at the names on this list. Randy Foy, Anthony Morrow, Hedo Turkoglu. Yo, look at some of these. What? That's crazy.
was Samuel Dallenbert. This is all just a long way of saying today's NBA cares way more about shooting than the NBA did in 2012. Jaylen Brown is a borderline superstar. Samuel Dallenbert averaged 7 and 7 a game and didn't even start half the time. Getting buckets gets you paid, and in today's NBA, there's no better way to get a bucket than the long ball. And most avid fans already know this. You see it in the numbers, you see it when you watch the games, and yet it's still agonizingly annoying when old heads swear that a good, but not nearly great, player from the 90s and early 2000s would have averaged 30 points per game in today's NBA. You see it all the time on social media. Some mid-age guys swearing that Peja Stojakovic or Michael Redd or Gilbert Arenas would have averaged a 30 bomb in today's league. But as insane as these guys sound, there's quite a bit of truth to their madness. Take the 3 guys I just named. Good players, but for most fans, guys that do not fall in the same tier as the Bradley Beals and Damian Lillards of the world. But what if these guys played in today's league? Well, if you adjust for pace of play, adjust their shot selection to match shot selection of current NBA players, and adjust their usage to their modern day counterparts, their prime numbers would look something like this. From good numbers to first ballot Hall of Fame numbers. Now, I'm not trying to knock some of today's talent, but if guys like Bojan Bogdanovic and Colin Sexton average 20 plus points per game, just imagine what sharpshooting bucket getters like these guys would do in today's ultimate green light era. So, what do you get when you have a league that prioritizes shooting and scoring far more than anything else, a league blindsided by an anomaly of a player years ahead of his time, sees a massive influx of players doing their best impersonation of this anomaly, and a league that drops all notions of positions and specific roles in favor of just letting players do what they do best? You get today's NBA. The latest version of a constantly evolving game that has reached its most skilled and productive interpretation ever. Players are doing things that have never been done before. Efforts and intensity on the defensive end is at an all-time low, and points seem to be easier and easier to come by every season, partially because of this lack of defensive effort, but also because offensive bags are deeper now than ever, and every player, from the superstars to the rotational guys, have a full arsenal of moves ready to unleash on their opponent at any moment. Many former, extremely skilled players that have been lost in the shuffle over time would have put up video game numbers in today's league. But instead, they played in an era where only the very best got to eat every night, and the rest of the league was condemned to play within a system that demanded a very specific task of them. And rarely was that task to go ISO every other possession and drop 30 points. So, I'll leave y'all with this. Remember the days when crazy high-scoring games were a rarity? When a team scoring 130 points in a game was a crazy stat line that usually came from some double overtime thriller? Well, those days are long gone. 130 points is the new 100 points. Yeah. And to illustrate just how insanely easy scoring has become for NBA teams, here is a graph showing how many 130 plus point performances NBA teams put up each season dating back to 2000. And it may just blow your mind. Enjoy. And as always, until next time.
Damn, I was about to say that shit went up damn near every year. $177, $189, $190. That's crazy. Within the last 3 years, bro. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. That shit is crazy. But that was a very informative video. Shout out to Jimmy High Roller for the video. If you want to see this video, link will be in the description, man. That was some very useful information. To kind of piggyback a little bit, yeah, man. It's just offense is just like they said in the video. Offense is just way ahead of their time, man. You feel me? Teams are prioritizing players who can shoot the ball, man. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Steph Curry really revolutionized this game, bro. No matter how much we can sit up here and say that, you know, it's a different time, it's Cottonelle soft, the rules have changed, bro. When Steph Curry started launching these threes and making them, and the Golden State Warriors started showing that you could win a championship with small ball and things like that, bro, I think that revolutionized how every team drafted, how they approach what players fit on their team, or their vision of how do we want to perform, or what should be our bread and butter. I think that we got to give Steph Curry that credit, bro. Honestly. Like, he's one of the most influential players alongside Michael Jordan and LeBron James right now, bro. He really is. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I'm just thinking. But if you guys agree with me, you feel what I'm saying, put down in the comment section. If you guys have any thoughts, put in the comment section as well. Link will be in the description for all my social medias. Follow me on social media to keep up with me if I'm not on Twitch and YouTube. I love you guys, man. Like I said, I appreciate everything that y'all been doing for me. Watching the videos, liking it. Catch you guys on the next one.